Real English for your daily life.
Master English together.
Quick question. When you speak in a meeting, do people hear your idea or do they just keep talking?
And be honest, do you ever finish a sentence and feel like it vanished into the carpet?
If that's happened to you, you're not alone. This is a B1 level episode, perfect for intermediate learners. Beginners, you're welcome too.
And today's problem is painfully real. You prepare, you raise your hand, and somehow your point still gets passed over.
Sometimes you even check your message 3 times before sending it, just so you don't sound too sharp, too vague, or too strange.
Meanwhile, someone else says one simple line, and the room acts like they just solved the whole project.
That can make you feel tiny, like your ideas are good, but your voice isn't landing.
And here's the twist. This isn't always about being smarter or louder. It's often about credibility and presence.
Okay, that sounds big. But in a very human way, what does it actually mean?
It means people don't just listen to the words. They notice how concise you are, whether you can back up your point, and whether you can get across a clear idea without drifting.
So basically, your brain is doing gymnastics, and your coworkers are pretending they didn't see the landing.
Exactly. And the funny part is, the more you try to sound perfect, the less natural you can feel.
Stay until the end for our Word Tour 5 expressions that'll help you sound more confident and more natural.
And later, we'll give you one tiny trick for your next meeting. But first, think of the last time you were interrupted.
Was it at work, in a group chat, or in a class discussion?
Pick one in your head right now, because I'm guessing your face just changed a little.
And if you're listening while drinking coffee, walking somewhere, or hiding in a break room, yes, we see you.
Let's make that invisible feeling make sense. And then make it smaller.
So Noah, imagine this. You're in a meeting that starts right on time. You've done your homework, prepared your points carefully. You even planned a sharp, concise opening to grab attention. But when it's your turn, you raise your hand and start talking. And suddenly your voice feels like it's drowning in noise.
Oh, I know that feeling well. You start speaking, but maybe someone interrupts, or worse, the room pretends they didn't really hear you. Maybe they just nod politely and jump to the next speaker. Your words hang in the air, but they don't stick.
Exactly. And that's when you start second-guessing yourself. Maybe your wording wasn't strong enough or you didn't sound professional enough. You worry that your presence in the room is just invisible.
That's where the problem of presence comes in. Not just showing up physically, but actually being noticed and felt in the conversation. You don't just want to talk. You want to be heard clearly and trusted.
And how do you build that presence? It's not just about waving your hands or talking louder. It's about something deeper, credibility.
Credibility is about the quality of being trusted and believed. Meeting attendees decide quickly if you're credible or not, often before you say anything. They watch how you speak. If you seem concise, meaning short and clear, no extra words. And if you back up your ideas with proof or reasons.
That's the tough part. You may have amazing knowledge, but if you ramble or get lost in details, your core message doesn't get across. You lose credibility without even realizing it.
It reminds me of this time I tried to explain a simple process to my team. I went on for like 10 minutes trying to be thorough, but halfway through, I caught the glazed eyes and a few whispers. That was my credibility sinking fast.
Been there. So, the question becomes, how do we avoid that trap, especially when nerves or pressure hit us?
One clue comes from psychology. Ever heard of the primacy effect?
I have, but remind me what that means exactly.
It's the idea that the first thing you say in a situation leaves the strongest impression. People tend to remember the beginning better than what follows, so if you start your meeting comments with something confusing or off topic, your whole message might get lost.
That explains why those conclusion first statements folks talk about are so popular. Like, my main point is, or what I'd recommend is. Those phrases help listeners latch on early.
Spot on. Leading with your main idea sets the stage. It shows you're concise and intentional, both qualities that build credibility fast.
But here's the catch. Just saying a strong opening isn't enough if you don't back it up. That is, you need evidence, reasons, or examples that support your claim.
Absolutely. And backing up your points makes you believable. It tells your colleagues, I know what I'm talking about, and here's why.
I've noticed that when people skip that part, they sound like they're throwing out opinions that can't be trusted. That's a quick way to lose presence.
Which brings us to another concept, signaling theory.
This sounds fancy. What is signaling theory in this context?
It means that in communication, we send signals to others about who we are, what we know, and how reliable we are. Being consistent, clear, and concise sends strong positive signals.
So, if I show up to every meeting with a clear plan, speak confidently with concise language, and back up my opinions with reasons, I'm sending strong signals of credibility.
Exactly. And those signals build your presence. Over time, people learn to trust you. They expect you to deliver clear points and support, and they'll listen more closely.
Wow, I never realized it's partly about training expectations.
That's why small habits like preparing a conclusion first phrase every time matter a lot. It's building a brand, a career credibility brand.
Let me test something with you. Imagine we're role-playing a typical meeting moment. You jump in, but without planning your words first. Try that.
Okay, here goes. Well, I think that maybe if we look at last quarter's figures and then consider the marketing team's feedback, possibly we could, try a different approach that might help things improve, too.
Wait, stop. That felt a bit scattered. Your message didn't come across clearly. This happens a lot, lots of filler words and no clear point up front.
That's true. I realized I was all over the place.
Let's try to fix that now. First, say your main point with, my main point is, or what I'd recommend is.
My main point is we need a better marketing strategy for the next quarter.
Perfect. Now, back it up using the evidence plus result plus next step model we talked about.
Our customer feedback showed confusion about current ads, which caused lower engagement, so I recommend we redesign our messaging with clearer calls to action.
Spot on. That sentence was concise and easy to follow. You got your idea across much better.
It feels more professional, like I'm someone who knows what I'm talking about, instead of just guessing.
And that's career credibility in action. Small tweaks like this take effort but build presence fast.
But here's the honest part. Even with these tools, meetings can still feel tough. Sometimes, the energy in the room or people's distractions work against you.
Right. And that can make you start doubting your ability even more, creating a self-doubt cycle that hurts your confidence.
I get that. It's frustrating and sometimes exhausting to feel invisible even when you prepare. Especially when other coworkers express themselves more freely and get noticed more.
And that's why this isn't a reflection of your worth or skill. It's about learning how to show up differently to help others see and remember your value.
Exactly. Building credibility isn't magic. It's intentional communication. That works over time. shaping how others perceive you and your ideas.
Here's a personal example I want to share. I once spent weeks preparing for a big client meeting, but I kept losing my train of thought and sounding unclear.
What did you do then?
I practiced my opening line with a friend, just one concise phrase to state my main point first. During the meeting, even when I felt nervous, I started with that phrase, and everything flowed better. People listened, asked questions, and even later complimented me on how clear I was.
That's awesome. It shows practice and preparation really pay off.
So, for listeners, here's what you can try. Before your next meeting, write one conclusion first sentence. Keep it concise and practice it out loud.
Then, when it's your turn, back up that sentence with one or two pieces of evidence or examples. Keep it simple, just enough to get your idea across.
And remember, it's okay not to speak a lot. What matters is that what you say is heard and trusted. Quality over quantity.
Because how often have we seen someone ramble on and still not get their point through?
Too often. So there's your action. Focus on presence and credibility, not on speaking more or louder.
And by the way, there is a phrase for this kind of clear, strong communication. It's called career credibility. We'll break it down more in our word tour later.
Next time, we'll share simple steps to make it natural and stress-free, so you don't freeze when it's your turn.
Stay with us, because building your voice at work starts with small, practical changes.
So, we've talked about why you feel invisible and how credibility matters, but now comes the real question. How do we actually fix this without adding more pressure?
Right, because the last thing you need is another just be more confident tip that doesn't help.
Exactly. So here's what I've tried, and it's worked for me. Before any meeting, I write down one sentence, just one, that starts with, "My main point is," or "What I'd recommend is."
Just one sentence? That sounds almost too simple.
I know it does, but that one sentence becomes your anchor. When you're nervous or when someone interrupts, you can always come back to it. It keeps you concise and helps you get your idea across clearly.
But what if the meeting goes in a different direction? What if your prepared sentence doesn't fit anymore?
That's a fair concern. But here's the thing. Even if the topic shifts, having that core sentence gives you a mental framework. You can adjust it slightly, but the structure stays the same. State your point first, then back it up.
I see what you mean. It's like having a safety net.
Exactly. And the second step is using what I call the evidence plus result plus next step formula. It sounds formal, but it's actually really natural once you practice it.
Can you give me an example?
Sure. Let's say your main point is, we need to update our customer service process. Your evidence could be, our response time is twice as long as competitors. Your result is, this is causing customer complaints to increase. And your next step is, I suggest we implement a new ticketing system by next month.
That's really clear. But wait, what if I don't have all that information ready? What if I'm put on the spot?
That's where the challenge comes in. And honestly, that's a real concern. But here's my take. You don't need to speak every time. You can choose your moments.
Hold on. I have to disagree with that. If you only speak when you're perfectly prepared, won't people think you don't have opinions? Won't that hurt your presence even more?
That's a really good point, Noah, and I understand that worry. But I think there's a difference between staying silent all the time and being selective about when you contribute.
But what if your boss expects you to participate regularly? What if staying quiet makes you seem disengaged or uninterested?
I hear you, and you're right that context matters. In some workplaces, speaking up frequently is expected. But even then, I'd argue that one high-quality comment is better than 5 scattered ones.
I'm not convinced. What if people forget you're even in the room because you're not speaking enough?
That's a valid fear. But think about it this way. When you do speak, if your comment is concise, backed up with evidence, and gets your point across clearly, people remember it. They associate you with quality contributions.
Okay, I see your point. But that still requires a lot of preparation. What about spontaneous meetings or quick check-ins where you don't have time to prepare?
You're right. Those are harder, and I won't pretend there's a perfect solution for every situation. But even in spontaneous moments, you can use a simplified version of the formula.
How so?
Instead of a full evidence plus result plus next step, you can just say, here's what I noticed, and here's what I think we should do. It's still structured, but it's faster.
That makes sense. But I still worry that this approach might make me seem too calculated or rehearsed.
I understand that concern, but here's the thing. Being prepared doesn't mean being fake. It means respecting your own ideas enough to present them clearly.
That's a good way to put it. I guess I've always felt like spontaneity equals authenticity.
And it can, but so can thoughtful preparation. The key is finding what works for you and what helps you build credibility in your specific workplace.
Okay, I'm starting to see it differently now. So what's the actual first step someone should take?
Start small. Pick one meeting this week, just one, and prepare that single "my main point is" sentence beforehand. Practice saying it out loud a few times so it feels natural.
And what if it doesn't go well? What if you still get interrupted or ignored?
That might happen, and it's frustrating, but the goal isn't perfection on the first try. The goal is building a habit that strengthens your presence over time.
So it's more about consistency than immediate results.
Exactly. Each time you show up with a clear, concise point that you can back up, you're sending those positive signals we talked about earlier. You're building your career credibility bit by bit.
That actually feels doable. It's not about transforming overnight. It's about small, intentional changes.
Right. And here's something else. After the meeting, reflect on what worked and what didn't. Did your opening sentence help? Did people understand your point? Use that feedback to adjust for next time.
So it's an ongoing process, not a one-time fix.
Exactly, and that's okay. Building presence and credibility takes time, but every small step counts.
And if you're listening right now, remember you don't need to be perfect. You just need to be clear, concise, and willing to back up your ideas.
And if you found this helpful, consider subscribing so you don't miss our next episode. We're here to help you feel more confident in your English and in your career. So far, we've explored why being heard in meetings goes beyond just speaking up. It's about building credibility and presence.
Right, and we've shared some gentle ways to prepare your main point and back it up clearly.
Now it's time for a quick word tour. We'll revisit 5 key expressions that can help you communicate better and sound more professional.
These words are exactly what we used in our conversations today, so you'll find them useful to practice and remember.
You know, Noah, after thinking about all those meeting moments, one word really stands out: credibility. It's what we've been talking about all along.
True, and just to be clear, credibility is basically the quality of being trusted and believed. When you have it, people listen because they think you're reliable.
Yes, like when someone always shares clear ideas and backs them up, you naturally trust them more. So credibility isn't just about what you say, but how consistently you say it.
Right. And building credibility in meetings means your presence counts a lot. Presence is not just physically being there, but the way you're noticed and felt in the room.
Exactly. You can be the quiet one or the loudest, but presence means people actually pay attention when you speak. It's the energy and confidence that draws their ears.
So presence is like your invisible spotlight. Even if you say just a few words, people notice the way you say them.
Yes. And that brings us to another important word, concise. This means being short and clear with no extra words.
Honestly, concise is a lifesaver in meetings. Nobody wants long-winded explanations when everyone's busy. Saying just what matters helps your message get across faster.
And being concise shows respect for others' time, which can boost your credibility too.
Right. And to stay credible and present, you need to back up your ideas. That means supporting a claim with proof or reasons, not just opinions.
Like if you say, we should change the process, back it up with clear evidence. Maybe sales dropped 10% last quarter because the old system confused customers.
That makes your idea stronger and easier for others to accept. It's proof that you're not just guessing you know what you're talking about.
And when you want others to really understand you, your goal is to get across your ideas. That means communicating successfully so people get what you mean.
Getting your message across is the whole point of talking in meetings, isn't it?
Absolutely. Sometimes it's not what you say, but whether people understand you that counts.
So if you think about these words together, credibility, presence, concise, back up, and get across, they form a little toolkit for stronger communication.
Exactly. They're like the secret sauce for not just speaking up, but being heard and remembered.
Haha, I remember a colleague who struggled to get noticed. Once she started using concise points and backing them up clearly, her presence skyrocketed.
And credibility just followed because people trusted her more and more as she kept showing up like that.
You know, I always thought credibility was only about having expertise. But now I see it's just as much how clearly and confidently you communicate.
That's a huge insight. Because you might be the smartest person in the room, but if your message doesn't get across, it's like you weren't even there.
So maybe we all need to work a bit on our presence and keep it concise.
Definitely. And remember to always back up your points. A wild guess won't get you far.
And getting your message across means adjusting how you speak depending on who's listening. Maybe a quick summary for busy managers, or more details for teammates.
That's a good tip. Tailoring your approach helps everyone understand and value your ideas better.
It's almost like learning a language inside the language how to speak, so you're really heard.
Yes, and practicing these expressions will make you feel more confident too.
Because communication isn't magic, it's skill, and you can build it one conversation at a time.
So why not start now? Think about your next meeting and how you can use these words credibility, presence, concise, back up, and get across to shine.
And don't worry about being perfect. Even small changes can have a big impact on how people see you.
That's right. Every time you get your idea across clearly, you build your professional presence and make it easier for others to trust you.
And before you know it, you won't feel invisible anymore.
Exactly. You'll have a voice people listen to and respect. So today we looked at why some people feel invisible in meetings, and why that's not the same as being unimportant.
Right. We talked about credibility, presence, and how clear speech can change the way people respond to you.
And we also saw that being concise, backing up your ideas, and getting your point across are skills you can practice.
Exactly. You don't need to sound perfect. You need to sound clear enough that people can follow you.
One practical move is to prepare one sentence before the meeting. Just one.
Another is to choose one piece of evidence or one result to back up that sentence. That keeps you focused and easier to trust.
And if you tend to over-explain, cut the extra words. Concise doesn't mean cold. It means respectful and clear.
I remember doing the opposite for years. I thought more words meant more value, but honestly, it only made my point harder to get across.
Same here. The moment I started leading with my main point, people listened differently. It felt small, but the room felt different.
That's the funny part. One cleaner sentence can change the whole mood of a meeting.
So here's your challenge for this week. In one meeting, speak once with a clear main point, one reason, and one next step.
Don't try to do everything. Just test the structure and notice what changes.
You might be surprised how much stronger your presence feels when your message is concise and backed up.
And next time, we'll keep building on this with more real-life workplace English, so you can sound natural and confident in even trickier situations.
Before you go, we want to hear from you. Tell us in the comments, what's one meeting habit you want to change this week?
We read every single comment. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.